Good evening and welcome to the first live Just My Opinion with Kyle Bowles. If you're out there in TV land or Facebook land or YouTube land, we really appreciate you joining us. This is definitely a work in progress, so bear with us. We think things will go all right. We're just looking to talk to a few people and maybe inform you a little bit about my opinions. And let's start right away, get right into the NFL. What a weekend. You can see the Commanders. The people are wondering about the Commanders, whether they've been playing a soft schedule, whether they're really a good team. I think this weekend they proved they're a very good team. They played with the Ravens. It was a good slugfest. Came up short at the end. I feel like right now they may be relying on Jaden Daniels just a little bit too much. Are we live here? All right. And when it came down to the running game, it's the second week in a row. Obviously Brian Robinson was out this week, which is a big deficit in the running game. But still with Eckler and McIntosh, it's the second week in a row where the running game's been pretty futile. So I think they need to get that balance back. But overall, I don't think there's a whole lot bad you could take from that game. I think Jaden Daniels, as I said on this show weeks ago, that he was the prize of the draft, and he's showing so much poise. He just looks like he's been back there forever, and is really unfazed. And another person I really want to point out on the Commanders would be Terry McLaurin. Like, the guy is unbelievable. Like, he's very underrated. I don't even know if he's underrated. He's just kind of does his job very stealthily. But some of the catches he made yesterday were just amazing. And it's nice to see that he's getting an opportunity to flourish and that somebody can get him the ball and show how great of a receiver he is. So the Commanders, I think, arrow pointing up. And when you're talking about arrows pointing up, there's one other arrow right now, and it's pointing down that came to mind, and that was the debacle yesterday afternoon with the Lions coming into Dallas and straight up embarrassing the Cowboys. Jaden Daniels, you got to think about Jaden Daniels. He's looking great, but they go in, and Jared Goff is another guy who looked like he just been doing this forever. He goes into Dallas last night and just eats them alive. Weapons, man. The guy's got St. Brown. He's got Williams. He has Laporta. He has Gibbs. He has David Montgomery. He has Tim Patrick. It's endless. The guy has a wealth of weapons, but he has the ability to see the field well. He looks off defenders well, and guys find themselves wide open. Sam Laporta on that fly pattern, 52 yards, tight end right down the sideline, and beautiful, beautiful execution of that play. But the Lions, to me, were the NFC team that came out looking the most dominant and poised to really go on a run out of this weekend. And on the AFC side, we'll go back to the Ravens. I think the dimension in their offense of Derrick Henry has just really opened things up in a million different ways. They're getting the ball downfield. Zay Flowers had a huge first half and game yesterday. Derrick Henry is busting off big runs at the end of the game, just like he did in Tennessee. He will wear you down eventually and then bust a big one. And it's given Lamar Jackson suddenly like every eye isn't on him. And it's opened up even bigger running lanes for him. And the opportunity for him to run is more selective now. It's not so much a necessity. It's just a wealth when you have Derrick Henry running and being able to just pulverize the defenders like he does. It's great. And Mark Andrews, he comes back yesterday, 3 catches, 66 yards, a touchdown. Don't sell him out yet. That guy's a proven all-pro, and I think Mark Andrews got to have a big second half of the season. But I think the Ravens and the Lions were the two teams that came out of this weekend looking like they really, belong in the conversation about who could be a Super Bowl champion. And there's 2 other teams who didn't play. They had a bye this week, and the last 2 undefeated teams, Vikings and Chiefs. Very, very solid teams. Obviously, no blemishes on their records. I look forward to seeing Sam Darnold this weekend. I think it's going to be a big game against the Lions. Sam Darnold's just always been on some crap teams. When he got a chance to play with the 49ers last year in the game he played for Purdy, he performed well. And the guy has some legs. He's got great receivers in Minnesota. The game goes through Justin Jefferson. I expect they're going to give the Lions a much better fight than the Cowboys did. And I know a buddy of mine, Michael Hancock's going to be calling in here a little bit to talk about the Cowboys. We're going to start taking callers whenever you're ready. So I'm going to put my glasses on so I can execute this if it does happen. That'll be 804-338-8381. Again, 804-338-8381. And then you come out of this weekend, there's always the downside. You're talking about hot players, hot teams. There's the teams that are underperforming, and you're kind of creeping into that third of the way through the season and rumblings and hot seats and quarterback quandaries and things like that. So you talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were a playoff team last year, suddenly find themselves with one win, a newly inked quarterback in Trevor Lawrence to a 4-year deal worth big bucks, and El Stinko. It seems like they have nothing going on. They got embarrassed again. Doug Peterson, when your coach said there's no chemistry and fire, well, it starts with you. I have a bad feeling about Doug's future. If he doesn't, even if he wins this weekend, I think coming out of London, they're going to can him. I may be wrong. That's just my opinion. I think Doug Peterson's going to be coaching his last game as a Jaguar coach right now. And then we go to the Browns and Deshaun Watson, who obviously is having a horrible year. He's costing a lot of money. And I believe even if they part ways with him after next year, he's still like $100 million in dead money or something like that. What do you do? The guy's horrible. Jameis Winston, he's not great, but he's got to be an upgrade at this point. He's certainly on any other team if you didn't have a quarterback that you had traded 3 number ones for and given all this guaranteed money to, he'd be playing. The level of play that Watson's performed for the Browns has been abysmal, and at the same time, he's guaranteed money. So what a horrible trade that was. You watch like Baker Mayfield flourishing. Heck, last year Joe Flacco got them into the playoffs, and they were a good team going into the playoffs. They cannot get the ball down the field with Deshaun Watson. Nick Chubb comes back this weekend. This will help the Browns, but I think their hole is too deep to dig out of. And it's time for Deshaun Watson to take a seat on the bench. If you want to call us, 804-338-8381. Again, 804-338-8381. We got a game tonight. We got the Jets and the Bills. It's a big game for both teams. Bills didn't play too well last week, and the Jets are just seeming to be like a snowball rolling down the hill, and it's just getting worse. They fired their coach. A lot of people thought that Aaron Rodgers may have had something to do with that. He vehemently denied having anything to do with it. I'm not sure what the future holds for the Jets, but if that offensive line doesn't get better in a hurry, I don't see them really having that good of a year. I think they're like a maybe 7-10 team. Their running game, which was so good last year, has stunk it up. Garrett Wilson, who everybody thought was going to have great chemistry in a big year with Aaron Rodgers. Last game he had 22 targets. I think he caught, 12, 15 balls, something like that. And he had no yards. It was like they're going 4 and 5 yards down the field. It's a very strange thing. And I just don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers can still play. I just don't think he's getting any opportunities, and that line's got him in a bad quandary. So tonight with the Bills, they're coming off a bad game. Josh Allen, I'd expect to have a huge night tonight. Jets defense is one of the best in the business. Josh Allen, I think tonight Dalton Kincaid as well gets loose. And so keep an eye on those two. And always they have James Cook back there, who's one of the best backs in the league. Shoot over to Major League Baseball. The playoffs are going on. I got to get an update on the current score of the Mets game, but they got off to a 6-0 last time I saw, and we're going to get a little update now. It looks like the Mets are up. The Mets win 7-3, game 2, so you have a 1-1 series. Got to feel good about that right now. If you're the Mets coming out of LA, 1 game apiece. LA, they're pitching. Even though they threw all those shutout innings in a row last series and into this series and into yesterday, if you notice today, the depth of it's not there. Hey Kyle, and I'm jealous you saw X in DC. Steve, I'm thankful that I saw X in DC. It was amazing. It was sold out, State Theater. It was pretty darn cool, and they were amazing. But the Mets, this team just keeps overachieving, and I think the depth of the Dodgers pitching kind of was exposed today. They had to start Brazier with, when you get in the playoffs, you're starting guys who are going to pitch an inning or two, relievers. That's a kind of to me, not a good sign. You don't have because you're going to eat up your relievers innings as well, which is tough. And I think today the Mets, like Vientos with a grand slam. That guy's had a big year playing third base for them. People thought Beatty was the future. I think Vientos has proven he belongs, and what a clutch player he was today. Mets 7-3. We go back to New York now, and it's a dead heat. And tonight, it's going to be something else. Mets win. Can the Yankees do the same? The Yankees play tonight. They're playing the Guardians. The Yanks, man, that lineup was Soto, Judge, Stanton. That's a lot to pitch to. And Mike Stanton came through big time last time. Last series, I heard the announcers talking about how slow he was. They say, I know he's stealing a base. It's just crazy how Mike Stanton is like just kind of an afterthought when you have power like that. But when you had Soto and Judge in front of you, man, sometimes it's tough to be remembered because those guys are beasts. Yankees pitching, they're gonna go with Carlos Rodon tonight. He's tough. He can be up and down though. I don't think that the Yankees pitching is extremely deep. Luke Weaver, what a pickup he's been, man. The guy used to get shelled as a starter, and now he's lights out as a closer. Luke Weaver has put up unbelievable numbers and a high K ratio as well. The Guardians, man, they come with Jose Ramirez, one of the best players annually. Another big year for him. Lane Thomas, we used to call him Lame Thomas because he couldn't hit, hitting grand slams in the last series, and inevitably he was one of the big reasons. I think he knocked in like 9 runs against the Tigers, and helping the Guardians advance. The Naylor brothers, they're like Gene and Ole Anderson. They're a good tag team, and they might have the best closer of the game, and Emmanuel Clace. He had a rough outing in one of the games last year. It was literally the first time he'd given up a run in like 25 outings. Tonight it's Alex Cobb, who pitched for the Giants for a long time. And then tomorrow night it'll be Tanner Bibby, who's a great pitcher. Dodgers, man. Let's talk about that lineup real quick. I saved them for last because the pitching is a little suspect on the front side of it. But, next year they'll get Derek May. They'll get Ohtani. They're going to get a bunch of dudes next year. They're going to get a Bueller that's, a little more healed. I think they've got a bright future pitching-wise. But right now the depth isn't there. It's in the bullpen that's keeping them alive. But if you are a pitcher of the opposing team and you've got to face Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman, I really can't think, or if you can think of one, let me know, of a better 3 guys hitting in a row in any order. If you can come up with it, please let me know because I've thought about it, and that's pretty brutal. Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. Who do you pitch around? Then you go left, right, left, so it's tough to bring in one kind of, righty or a lefty to do the situation pitching. I think that lineup is going to win the World Series. I believe the Dodgers will be the champions this year. If you disagree, call in. Let me know. 804-338-8381. Let's head to our next topic. Holy moly. Let's talk about the Mets again. Pete Alonso, clutch homer to win the first series. If you don't have Ohtani this year, a lot of people think Francisco Lindor would have been your MVP. And he continues to deliver here in the playoffs. Vientos big time today. Sean Manaea, great pitching today. It'll be Severino tomorrow. I think the loophole on this team could be Edwin Diaz. But we'll see. Still 804-338-8381. Give us a call. We'll talk about a few little matchups we got going on coming up. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. That's literally a month away. And saw some video of Mike Tyson. He looks great. But I think Jake Paul is going to work. And Mike Tyson said that he's having the most fun training he ever had because he said there's just no pressure. But he looks chiseled. He looks fast. Again, it's just against bags and stuff like that, so it's hard to really analyze. Looks like somebody is calling in. It's going to be Dallas Cowboy fan Michael Hancock. Let me see if I can put Michael on speaker. Is this Jerry Jones on speakerphone?
The one and only.
That is awesome. Trucker Hoss, Michael Hancock, my Cowboys aficionado. Welcome to Just My Opinion. How are you tonight, sir?
Actually, Kyle, great to hear you. I want to give you some time to set the table before I jumped in and erected with all this Cowboys talk, which is certainly not going to be very, not very happy talk this evening, to say the least.
Yeah, I didn't want to pile on.
Right now.
I thought I'd let somebody who was an aficionado give me their lowdown. What's your take? Like, I mean, I know a lot of Cowboy fans, but you're one of the more knowledgeable and long-standing. I know you've been through the ups and downs and the high hopes and, and the Super Bowls back in the 90s. Like, what is your take after last night? What do you feel like the organization needs to do or hasn't done that's put them in this position?
Few things, and I'll start with, I didn't go into yesterday very optimistic anyway.
Yeah.
The defensive injuries were going to make yesterday a tough road to hoe, regardless of what happened. And I don't want to use that as an excuse. I didn't go into yesterday very optimistic, given that no Micah Parsons, no DeMarcus Lawrence, and no Eric Kendricks right there.
Yeah.
But you've got those three guys out. That's a lot of tackling gone at the front of that defensive unit that just you can't replace. The other thing I think a lot of people are forgetting about this team, or that's not really being talked about this team, is they're starting two true rookies on the offensive line at the two most important positions on the offensive line, left tackle and center.
Yeah.
You're starting guys that basically have played now, 4 games. So, at this point, it's that's going to be a work in progress. The Brandon Cooks injury is also one that's big because he and Dak had really kind of formed a connection. He took a lot of the pressure off the CD. He made it harder to double CD and Ferguson, and made that that whole thing opened up a little more. Tolbert doesn't have that kind of presence, so all those injuries and things work together in terms of a symptom of the problem. Personnel-wise, I don't know that they were going to go out there and win that game last night based on that. However, all that said, the effort was just poor.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick of, as a Cowboy fan, watching year after year execution issues, penalties, stupid penalties. And just things that really, at the end of the day, come down to coaching. And I think if you look back at the end of the year last year, the Cowboys made a coaching decision to, one, stay with Mike McCarthy, two, let Dan Quinn walk away, and I think at this point, that's been a bad decision in every respect.
Yeah.
And I don't want to also, and then I'm going to get in and let you throw some questions at me. One more thing I wanted to get out there before. I don't want to let Dak Prescott be free from blame here, because that one interception he threw in the end zone yesterday,
that was terrible.
I don't know how he didn't see that linebacker. I'm blind in one eye.
Yeah.
And I saw that linebacker from the jump, and I just don't know how he missed the guy. But at the same time, I think that's a lot of the, when you've got all the pressure on Dak now, he's got his money, and now when the pressure starts tightening down, that's when you see him try to force things and make those type of mistakes. So I think that, I'm not optimistic about this team turning it around this year. I've never seen Mike McCarthy do anything impressive. I've not been impressed with what we've gotten out of the defense this year, and I really expected more from Zimmer, but he really just the defense really a shell of what it was last year. I mean, and it's not generating and injuries obviously again. Maybe this team gets healthy, and maybe there's something there that I'm missing. But right now, I just am not seeing the effort or the execution necessary to succeed in the NFL.
It's funny you mentioned Quinn, because it just, even though obviously the Commanders are playing much better than they have in the many recent years, it just looks like it's a different feel. Obviously, Daniels has a lot to do with it, but it seems like Quinn has put this infectious, not like Dan Campbell bravado, but like a confidence and like looks like everybody is in. Like, it didn't look that obviously. I thought Riverboat Ron, kind of like McCarthy. I thought they gave him a year longer than he really needed. I thought last year when that season wrapped for the Cowboys that was a great time to make a move.
It absolutely should have been. And I thought the same thing because at the end of the day, the promise of getting to the playoffs is all well and good. But if you can't do anything once you get there, you're not accomplishing anything. And to get there and get blown out the way they did last year, it looked bad on Quinn too. And I'm not going to say
they got torched.
I might not have let him get away with that either.
Right.
But I definitely would have run Mike McCarthy out of town last January. But
so in
the
that,
players apparently rallied around him. I don't know. There was a lot of sentiment that, hey, this was on us, not on the coaches. Give him another chance. And sometimes that works, I guess, and sometimes that doesn't. But unless they got some kind of rallying that I'm unaware of at this point, I'm pretty disappointed with how things are turning out.
So in that regard,
and the game also, I should probably mention, is garbage.
Yes,
Dowdle is probably number 2.
Yeah.
At best, Zeke is done.
Yeah.
He's toast, and really, when you don't, again, that's just more that goes on Dak's shoulders that leads to things like that horrible pick in the end zone yesterday.
You see a lot of people bringing up like that they could have, made a better or made an effort to get Derrick Henry, but then Jones said he didn't have the money, which that would be the first time I ever heard him say that.
But it's not. I think it's the cap money though. It's not you've got Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons all to re-sign.
Oh yeah,
and you got to field a team.
Yeah,
and Derrick Henry, I don't know, the math of what he was getting from the Ravens was not going to work for the Cowboys. I do know I kind of had a ballpark to what the Cowboys had to spend on a running back, but when I saw Henry's contract, I knew he was way out of what they would have ever probably been able to afford unless they were to trade a couple of guys or do something really weird. Yep. It would have required a lot of moving of pieces around.
Yeah, Pollard still kind of looks like he was last year in Dallas, like he is this year in Tennessee. He's putting up decent numbers. I saw like 22 for 88. I think the Cowboys need a running back. I don't know. Dalvin Cook, does he have anything left? I saw like people saying the Vikings.
He's on the practice squad. I've not seen him. If he had anything left, would he be on the squad? I mean, honestly, like he's been there for 6-8 weeks by now. If he had anything in the tank, would they have brought him up by now?
You would think so.
I mean, I just think, if he's there and they haven't tried him out yet, you're probably thinking, why haven't they tried him out yet? It seems like they're trying just about anybody else they can work out in the spot.
All right, I got one final Cowboy question for you. We talked a little bit about the coach, and if this ends it for McCarthy this year, who are your candidates? Who would you like to see be considered as a head coach?
I mean, I would love to see them go to one of the good young coaches in the college ranks, preferably. Let's bring up somebody like that. Part of me tends to think that it's out there and he's out there, and until somebody else hires Belichick, there's that whole thing. And I will tell you this: if a Bill Belichick team doesn't have stupid penalties.
No, you're
correct. The Belichick team doesn't have stupid execution problems. And I don't know. Is he the answer for Dallas? I don't know. The guy for my money is still, and I know there's a lot of criticism, with the whole Brady situation. Is he as great as people give him credit for? But, at the end of the day, if you watch what he did with that New England team over the years, their identity constantly changed. Their personnel constantly changed. The only thing that remained consistent was the winning.
Right.
And, Brady was a big part of that, but, everything else was too.
Yeah, we got to feel like with Prescott and Lamb and Parsons, they're all kind of on the same timeline money-wise now. And you would think if Belichick returns to coach, and he would be about probably on I would guess 3 or 4 year kind of look. I don't see him doing long-term. So it might be a good marriage. And I've heard that more than once. And I wouldn't be surprised. Jerry Jones has always kind of gotten very romantic with bigger names in the past.
At the end of the day, you can't fault Jerry Jones for hiring Bill Belichick if he's trying to hire
the best
available football coach.
I agree. 1,000%.
And at the end of the day, I don't care who you put up against him. There's nobody out there whose qualifications are going to stack up.
No.
Belichick's.
No, I think you'd have to get Captain Lou Albano to have as many championships as Belichick, and that would be one of the few people I could come up with right now. Oh my gosh!
What Paul Jones said.
Oh man, he was. That's when you got to sit back and do a shot of number one. But Mike Hancock, you delivered the goods just like I knew you would. So I really appreciate you calling in. And
you're here for you anytime you need me, man. You got me for. I can help you with the Cowboys. I heard you talking a little Logan Paul, Tyson earlier.
Yeah. I know you love boxing.
MMA, wrestling, I'm there for you.
I was about to bring the boxing up.
On 910 back in the day, so.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, much respect, and I hope you have a great night. And we're definitely going to talk again.
Take it easy, Kyle. Have a good one, brother.
All right, Michael. Thanks for calling. That was Trucker Hoss, Michael Hancock, who he was on AM Sports Radio 910 like myself. He was after me, but we both subbed from Maniscalco, and very knowledgeable sports guy. Wrestled with us a little bit up in ECWA as Trucker Hoss, and I want to say the Celtic Warrior was his other name, but I may be wrong. Michael, you can correct me next time we chat. Here's a good question out there. Somebody asked me, if you name the biggest young star in the NBA, like first year, and take WNBA's biggest star in their first year, which is Caitlin Clark, obviously, who's more recognizable? Is it Victor Wembanyama, or is it Caitlin Clark? Great question, because worldwide it might be Victor. But I think in the United States, without a doubt, that Caitlin Clark is the hottest rookie in any sport in recognition. If you think of somebody that's more recognizable than her, let me know. But man, I can't. She's definitely to me like the Muhammad Ali. 1 year Muhammad Ali. Don't take it out of context because he's long term and he's the GOAT. But she is the most recognizable rookie in any sport today, current. So if you think of somebody else, let me know. NCAA basketball. It's a small sampling. First polls are out. Preseason, Kansas #1, Alabama 2. The takes I took out of this: Duke 7, UNC 9, and not another ACC team. Wait a minute, Steve calling. There's not another ACC team in the top 25. And that includes Virginia, who's pretty much a constant in the top 25, if not top 15. So Cavaliers not being recognized as one of the teams to keep an eye on, at least as a top 25. So I'm getting from Steve. Ric Flair told me at the hotel bar, Mike Tyson can't lose the bout with Jake Paul. Well, Ric Flair, as we all know, I've always had a great love for the Nature Boy. Rick is talking out of his ass a lot lately. I don't think Rick drinks a lot. And Rick, I'm talking like 10 in the morning, but he never looks like he has a buzz. He just steady Eddie, but he drinks a lot. And I think some of the stuff he says now is just to get attention. Him and Tyson obviously have their own weed company. Flair's got his weed under Tyson's brand, and they've become buddies. And so I'm sure he's going to tout Tyson over Paul. I just feel with the youth and the reach and the activity of bouts that the two of them have had. Mike Tyson hasn't fought in a long time other than a Roy Jones exhibition, which he looked pretty good against a sluggish Roy Jones. But Jake Paul is busy. He's been constant in the ring. The guy's got a big right hand. Should be interesting. I think there'll be a lot of eyes on it. These 4 eyes will be on it. And I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what else we got going on here. Looks like next show, we're going to talk NCAA football, some MLB, and some NFL. Last couple topics, my opinion topics. The new kickoff. Excuse me. I'm glad to see the kickoff back in action. 804-338-8381. So happy to see the kickoff back in action. I wish that the kickoff, and I'm cool with like the stationary start because, people are getting dinged up big time. It's proven through, I'm missing days of home football. Man, if you can avoid concussions and long-term serious injuries, and you can still keep the game within a reasonable facsimile of what it is, I'm all for it, man. I don't see these guys, with CTE and stuff like that. My son Maddox last year, junior year in high school, he got two concussions in basketball. He sat him down for a couple weeks, came back, got another. They sat him down for like 3 weeks. Went to baseball, caught a ball or tried to catch a ball going over the fence. Went up like that, hit the back of his head, came down. Third concussion, summer basketball, fourth. He had four in like 7 months, which was obviously, as a parent, very concerning. We had Maddox checked out pretty extensively, and we found some interesting things. CTE, which a lot of boxers, wrestlers, pro football players get, and it's from concussions and constant pounding of the brain and the head. And football players knocking heads. Now they don't practice as much. With pads and helmets, but in the old days it was every day. The Mike Websters, guys like that. It's just a shame. Um, Wrestlers, everybody knows the Chris Benoit story. The guy lost his marbles, and I saw the other recently where Vince McMahon, dumbass that he is, not a dumbass creatively or dumbass, as a businessman, but he's the more you learn about him, the less there is to like. But he said he didn't believe in CTE. But with Maddox, you got the fourth one in like 7 months during summer basketball. So I could see it. He stayed in the game. Game ended. He kind of fell through the chairs as they were shaking hands. Nobody even saw it. I went over there like, what the hell's going on? So we called the basketball coach and basically just told him, hey, Maddox cannot practice. He can come to practice and do individual drills. There's no contact um, till the season starts, which is December, which was going to be about 5 months away. The doctors assured us that CTE, the kind of baseline, the amount of concussions you have, is 13 to 15. And he had four, obviously, in a short period of time. You don't want that to keep going down. But he returned to basketball and baseball last year and had no issues at all, and thankfully no concussions. And is currently playing junior college baseball at Paul D. Camp in Chesapeake, who is now the last 2 years been to the NCAA JUCO World Series. Maddox also turned 19 today. Happy birthday, Maddox! So we love you. He's enjoying the experience down at camp. Good team. But again, the new kickoffs, I would like to see. I like the box where you can kick it. I don't like them kicking it out of the end zone. My rule would be you have to kick it in the box. If you can't kick it in the box and it's you kick it over the box or short it, you can go short of the box. You can't go over like into the end zone. The ball is on the 40. That would encourage returns. There are a couple good ones recently, but I just still like the return. And if you can do it safely, I would like to see the return have more opportunity to evolve and to happen. And then also something I've been reading a lot about recently is people complaining about, oh, he threw 90 pitches and they took him out. Same thing. Like it's proven over time that preserving these arms isn't an easy thing to do. It seems like not every, but a lot of the young pitchers come across Tommy John surgery once, or if you're Otani, it's, well, I guess second one technically Tommy John, but it was close to it too. And he's like 28, 29. These guys are throwing gas. Back when I was playing and watching it in the 70s and 80s, they weren't throwing this hard. If you were throwing 92, 93, you threw hard. Nolan Ryan being the exception was throwing 100. Tom Seaver might have hit like 95. But the most of these guys were throwing low 90s and spotting the ball and had good command of what they were throwing. These guys are different that are throwing today. Um, they're lifting weights. They're going to throwing coaches. They're doing throwing exercises. All this stuff. And to me, the torque on the arm and the overusage of the arm is insane compared to what it once was. Even if they threw a ton more innings back then, just what they do to like make you a pitcher now, to me, is more stressful on the arm. And I think that's why you see these Tommy John surgeries. So when you are throwing 90 pitches or 100 pitches, I think that's about it. If you got no hitter going, like, I won't let you go up there at the 110, 115. But I want you for the long term. And speaking of long term, we're at the 35-minute point tonight. So I'm going to bid everybody adieu. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks if you tuned in. Thanks if you messaged me. Thank you, Micah Hancock, for calling. Ringo Starr once said, peace and love, it's just my opinion. Cobbles. Have a good night.